Regulation F was just announced, and now we have to deal with these behemoths. Join me in this video and learn how to use their teams and also how to counter them. If you wanna see more content like this one, subscribe to the channel and let's get going. First of all, we have a really dominant core here of Iron Crowned with a booster energy and indeed female with the Regidrago. This is an extremely dominant core. It dominates pretty well balanced teams. Balanced teams are always common in every format that we feature. Balanced teams are always the best teams and the most consistent teams. Those teams are those like, for example, the one that I'm going to talk about later. It is composed with two fake out users, usually a redirection Pokemon, in this case the Ogerpon, and the Raging Bolt. And this team is extremely good against those types of balance because you have Psychic Surge on Indeedee, meaning you can negate the fake out pressure. And I know what you're saying, but well, they have Rillaboom, they can just control the field. The thing is that you can always play the mind games with your opponent and delay your Indeedee, right? You can bring the Indeedee in the second turn and override the opponent's terrain. Because Indeedee is always slower than Rillaboom, you are always going to get your Psychic terrain, and in short, you will always win your terrain dispute if you play accordingly, of course. But what makes this team so good against Bellas? Well, Iron Crown is extremely powerful. It has a base 122 special attack, and it has Stab Expanding Force that gets boosted with the Psychic terrain and hits both opponents. Then you also have your booster energy that will give you a +1 to special attack, meaning that you are going to be hitting extremely hard. You could also make your Iron Crowned have the booster energy go into the speed, but I think that you'll lose a little bit of pressure by doing so. And I think that utilizing the booster energy onto the special attack stat is extremely useful. And so you have Expanding Force to hit both of your opponents. You have Terrakion Cutter against strong ice types, like for example Chimpao, which would be amazing against this team, but now it gets one-shotted with Terrakion Cutter, and this is because Terrakion Cutter goes around Focus Sash, right? The only Pokemon that you truly face some difficulty against is the Insane, and that is why Terra Blast is extremely common in this Pokemon. In the Indeedee, I've already spoken about it. Usually they run the Dazzling Gleam so that you can hit the dark types, even if you have Terrakion Cutter to attack them. Dazzling Gleam is a spread move that really helps. Usually you can even go with the Fairy Terra and just completely wall Raging Bolt, for example, because you have the Psychic Surge, right? That negates priority, so the Raging Bolt cannot Thunderclap, and you have the Dazzling Gleam, and you have the Fairy Terra, which makes it so that the Dragon Pulse or Dragon Meteor, Draco Meteor cannot hit you. This is extremely useful. Then you have usually your third element, and this is the Regidrago. Regidrago is extremely powerful due to the Dragon Energy move. Although this Pokemon is extremely slow, you can actually use it in a Trick Room mode team with Trick Room on your Indeedee. Right, sorry, Trick Room on your Indeedee, but you could also run a Choice Scarf set. Even though you will always be slower than an Urshifu, you will still be faster than a bunch of Pokemon, and you have redirection here. So that's a way of protecting your Regidrago. Usually these teams also run an Ogerpon form. Usually it's the it's the Rock Ogre or the Wellspring. They are the most consistent to let you set up either your Trick Room or just to enable your Regidrago, right? And Regidrago is extremely strong against balance because you are just basically a wall breaker. You have Dragon Moss that multiplies your Dragon type moves, right? You have this is basically like a secondary stab because you have stab here, right, in your move because you are a Dragon type. Then you have another stab here, and yeah, it's really strong. Dragon Energy is basically a Dragon type Water Spout or Eruption, so yeah, really strong move. You could always go with the Draco Plate. Let me just... oh, it was here, sorry. You could also always go with a Draco Plate to get even a further boost, so you have a 20% boost here, 50% boost here, 50% boost due to stab, so it's a lot of multipliers, and I can guarantee you that you will one-shot a bunch of Pokemon. So this team is extremely consistent. It is extremely good as a wall breaker team. But now that we've spoken a little bit about this team, how can you counter it? Well, you have a couple of options. First of all, Psyspam is the main mode of this team, so dark types are really good. And which dark types would be good? Well, Incineroar is extremely good to counter the Iron Crown. Iron Crown cannot do super effective damage against Incineroar if it does not terrestrialize. And burning terrestrialization could be extremely important if you have a Pokemon that can capitalize on this, right? You like the Rillaboom or the Raging Bolt, okay? Preferably a Thunderbolt Raging Bolt. Another dark type, really good dark type here is the dark type Urshifu. Where is it? The dark type Urshifu is also extremely good because it can break through protects and hit your opponent's Pokemon with super effective damage in this situation and in this situation as well. So Urshifu is extremely strong. Another option, and I really like this, is the Galarian Moltres. This is because Galarian Moltres is extremely bulky, okay, and you can just give it absurd EV spreads to make it even more bulky. You are immune to Expanding Force. Terrakion Cutter is not going to do a lot of damage to you, and you have an extremely good move that is Fiery Wrath. Fiery Wrath hits both of your opponent's Pokemon, so it ignores the redirection from the Indeedee and is neutral, and Moltres is neutral to the Expanding Force. It takes 0 damage on the Expanding Force, so I think Moltres is phenomenal against this type of teams. Another cool Pokemon here is the Kingambit. Kingambit doesn't take damage from Expanding Force, resists Terrakion Cutter, and it takes neutral damage from the Dazzling Gleam, so it's a really good option as well. And it also doesn't take super effective damage from the Regidrago, but Regidrago can always utilize Earth Power. So against these teams, I really like these dark types. Of course, that Rillaboom is extremely important here, as you can now dispute the Indeedee's Psychic terrain with your grassy terrain, right? Qianpao is also pretty good here, although you have to position it quite well to deal with Iron Crown, and Chi-Yu is actually fantastic in this position. Once again, it resists Terrakion Cutter, it doesn't take damage from the Expanding Force, and Choice Scarf on it, and you slap a Choice Scarf on it, and you can just pressure a bunch of Pokemon with Heat Waves and Dark Pulses, so it's a really threatening Pokemon. HI Scarf is also really good onto the TU, because if your opponent is running HI Scarf Regidrago, you can just hit it with a Draco with a Ruination or Dark Pulse and just diminish its pressure. So I think that these Pokemon are extremely good against this specific team. Now on to the next one. So now we have a really known duo of Urshifu, Rapid Strike and Tornadus. This is a duo that teams struggle a lot against. It's an unstoppable offense, because first of all you have a HI Scarf Pokemon which nullifies your protects, right? So you cannot protect to scout. Second of all, you do a lot of damage with your surging strikes, right? They are always critical hits, and your close combats with a 130 base attack stat. And Urshifu is already really hard to deal with, but then you add the Tornadus. Tornadus is phenomenal here because you can pressure your opponent in two ways. If the Choice Scarf Urshifu is faster than all of your opponent's Pokemon, you can Rain Dance. With Rain Dance you can guarantee a KO without using Contextualization, right? Easy. If your opponent also has Tailwind on their side and threaten to be faster than your Urshifu, I mean, you can just match the Tailwind, right? So I think that this duo is like extremely strong, extremely oppressive. I really like this duo. It is extremely powerful. But how can you counter this duo? Well, you have a lot of Pokemon actually to counter these ones. First of all, you have the Raging Bolt. Raging Bolt, as you guys will see, is just the best Pokemon in this regulation. It can do whatever you want. It can be a leftover set. It can be an Assault Vest set. It can be a Booster Energy set, right? It can even be a Magnet or Life Orb set, right? You have a lot of things that you can do with this Pokemon. It is extremely threatening. Then you have one of the best moves in the game, that is Thunderclap. Thunderclap is basically an electric type Sucker Punch. This is a super convenient because now you can just Thunderclap the Urshifu. You are forcing the Urshifu to retreat, right? Or to take this Thunderclap that can KO it, because the Urshifu does not have a lot of special defense, so it is extremely strong. Raging Bolt can also, due to its high defensive stats, HP, defense and special defense, can take a little bit of punishing from this Urshifu, right? So if you don't want to have Thunderclap, or you don't want to use Thunderclap in that position because you don't know what your opponent is going to do, you can use Thunderbolt and KO it. Or you could even Thunderbolt and KO the Tornadus. So Raging Bolt against these two is just marvelous. It is a complete counter to these two Pokemon. So if you're struggling against them, use Raging Bolt. A really good Pokemon against the Urshifu is of course the Ogerpon. Ogerpon learns Follow Me, and this is extremely helpful because you can just redirect the Surging Strikes from the Urshifu, right? And you don't take any damage and you heal. So this is just a phenomenal counter against Urshifu because you can just nullify its presence, right? And when you want to get rid of it, you can just Wood Hammer it or Horn Leech it, right? You are threatened by the Tornadus, but if you can position your Ogerpon well, you can just win games out of the gate, okay? So Ogerpon in Raging Bolt are extremely powerful against these two. A Pokemon that I really like against these two is also the Iron Hands. Assault Vest Iron Hands is extremely useful, especially when it has the Wild Charge. Wild Charge just completely counters these two, right? You are forced to terrestrialize one or the other. You are forcing your opponent to make a choice, but you can also pressure your opponent with Fake Out, meaning that even if the Tornadus sets the Tailwind, you can just Fake Out the Urshifu and try to KO it with, for example, an Ogerpon, like I said. So I think that Iron Hands is extremely good, especially because it has fantastic stats. Like, although the special defense is quite low, you have the Assault Vest to accommodate that, right? You also have an extremely high HP stat and a really good defensive stat. I think that Iron Hands is absolutely phenomenal in this regulation. So, recapping, Iron Hands, Ogerpon, Wellspring and Raging Bolt are extremely strong against this team. Next up, we have the most what I'm going to say is going to be the most used core in this regulation, and it's going to be the Raging Bolt, Incineroar, Rillaboom, and of course the Ogerpon Earth Flame. Okay, so why is this team going to be the team to beat? As you guys may have noticed along these regulations, Pokemon that can set up protected by two Fake Out users like Incineroar and Rillaboom just take over the metagame, right? We were just in Regulation H, and what did we see? I mean, we saw Quiver Dance Volcarona with Rillaboom and Incineroar. We saw Calm Mind Ursaluna with Incineroar and Rillaboom. I mean, even in previous regulations, we have, for example, Calm Mind Calyrex Shadow Rider with Incineroar and Rillaboom. We saw Terrapagos with Incineroar and Rillaboom. So I mean, any Pokemon that is bulky enough and that has access to a setup move like Calm Mind, an extremely powerful move, you can just complement that Pokemon with Incineroar and Rillaboom, and you have an extremely strong team. So you can even just do this. Look, you do this, you have almost an unbeatable team, a really strong team. So yeah, I mean, this is going to be the team to beat. You have insane recovery with leftovers and grassy terrain. You have a lot of control over the game because you have Fake Out. Here you don't have Follow Me, but if you want to use a more defensive Ogerpon, you could have Follow Me and just have 3 ways to protect your Raging Bolt, which is phenomenal, right? And yeah, this team is just going to take over tournaments, it's going to take over regional events. I think it's going to be a really overpowering team. Here you usually use the Terra Fairy, though. But you might be asking, well, if this team is that strong, surely it is unbeatable, right? I mean, you have a lot of damage here, Bird Control, and a lot of damage here with the Grassy Glide, Swords Dance Ogerpon. The good thing is, it is also a team that is easy to counter, and this, and as I explained previously, this team can be countered by this team that I talked about earlier, right? This Iron Crowned Indeedee Regidrago team is really good to break these sort of balance teams. But you also have other Pokemon that are particularly good against them. One of them is Farigiraf, Terra Fairy Farigiraf. And why is not this? And why is that? Well, with the Armor Tail, your Raging Bolt cannot Thunderclap. And if you go Terra Fairy, the Raging Bolt cannot touch you with Dragon Pulse. Meaning that if you have a Farigiraf on your team and you reach an endgame where you can just get rid of threatening partners of the Raging Bolt, you can just bring in the Farigiraf, Terra Fairy it, and just start teaching Dazzling Gleams, for example. Or, to be more annoying, you can just go for the Psychic Noise to reduce the healing from the Raging Bolt. So Farigiraf is amazing against this team. Of course, like I said, Indeedee Female is also really strong, and I think that other extremely good Pokemon against this core are Pokemon that can just put a lot of pressure against them. For example, Landorus, extremely good. You have Earth Power on it and you have Sludge Bomb. Your opponent is just going to be so pressured to take down this Landorus. And that is because you, with Earth Power, you endanger the Insane and the Raging Bolt. With Sludge Bomb, you endanger the Ogerpon, the Rillaboom, and the Terra Fairy Raging Bolt. So Landorus is a fantastic Pokemon against this team. I think it's one of the best options against this type of balance. Another really good Pokemon here is Dokidogi. Dokidogi with Assault Vest could be extremely strong. And why is that? Well, first of all, you have the Guard Dog ability. It makes you immune to Intimidate and it gives you a +1. So it's basically a Defiant. Okay, but you don't get your stat drop, but the attack boost is the same. So this is extremely good. And then your Stab is extremely strong against both Insane and Rillaboom. So you have for example, you have Drain Punch here. Do you learn Close Combat? It even learns Close Combat. You also have the Gunk Shot. So with these three moves, right? With these three moves, you can just counter the opposition pretty well, right? With the poison type damage, you pressure the Rillaboom and the Ogerpon whilst pressuring the Terra Fairy Raging Bolt, right? Extremely strong. You cannot get attack drop, so your Drain Punch with your Stab fighting type moves like Drain Punch and Close Combat, you can do a lot of damage to the Insane, so is extremely strong. And the Insane cannot intimidate you, it cannot Parting Shot you. I mean, it's fantastic. I think that Okidogi is actually a sleeper pick into these balanced teams. So, TLDR, Landorus, Tyrion, Okidogi, and the previous team that I mentioned with Iron Crown and Farigiraf. These four extremely strong against Raging Bolt. So onto the next one, and in the next one we have two teams, and I'm just going to talk about them pretty quickly. So this is Alex Underhill's Portland Regional winning team. And you see here just a lot of strong Pokemon. One of them is this duo, the Dragonite Champow. Right, the D-Knight and the Champow are an extremely strong duo because of the Choice Band, Terra Normal Extreme Speed, putting a lot of pressure onto your opponent's Pokemon, right? Outrage also does a lot of damage, and you cannot get intimidated or faked out with Inner Focus on your Dragonite. Then you have the Champow that can boost the damage of your physical attackers, like for example the Dragonite, the Entei, and the Ogerpon. So these are extremely strong. Entei here is just, it's basically a Dragonite, right? But it's also here to just counter opposing Ogre Pawns or other annoying Pokemon. And you have Sacred Fire to just to burn other Pokemon, like you have the Kingambits, the Iron Crowns, stuff like that. Stomping Tantrum to cover for Stomping Tantrum to cover for other fire types, like for example the Insane. Snarl for damage control, and Extreme Speed to pair yourself with Chien-Pao. Then you have the Fluttermane. This Fluttermane is quite offensive. I don't have the spread here, but it is a really fast Fluttermane that can pressure your opponent with a lot of strong fairy type damage, which is going to be really useful, especially when you are against Raging Bolt. So the Safety Goggles Raging Bolt is extremely useful as well. As you guys can see, it does not have Calm Mind, and that is mainly because this team doesn't really want to take the game slow, okay? This team just wants to put as much pressure on your opponent as possible, and that is why 4 out of the 6 Pokemon have priority moves. Extreme Speed here, Sucker Punch here, Extreme Speed here, and Thunderclap here. And then you have Ogre Pawn doing Ogre Pawn things, right? Like redirection and support. So against this team, what you can do, well, just what we've talked about earlier. Farigiraf, extremely good. It just nullifies the Dragonite and Chien-Pao's pressure, right? It also endangers the Entei here, and if you are again the Fairy Terra, Raging Bolt cannot touch you. So Farigiraf is extremely strong. Other strong teams are of course the Iron Crown team that I've talked about earlier. I think this is extremely good. This team just wants to pressure you with priority. Priority spam was really common in 2024. So if you can have one Pokemon that nullifies priority moves, I think that you will be doing a lot better. A good Pokemon against this team is also the Landorus, for the same reasons as I said in the balance team counters. It is good against the Raging Bolt, good against the Fluttermane, good against the Entei. It is not good against the Chien-Pao, but you can just utilize your own Pokemon to just counter the Chien-Pao, right? So if you are against this team, yeah, Landorus is absolutely phenomenal. Then we have a really common duo. This duo, I think that most of you guys already know of it, but it's just basically you have a really strong Kingambit here with the black glasses, and basically you have a really strong and defensive Gouging Fire, and you will just Howl to boost your Kingambit and your own attack stat, right? And then you can just pressure your opponent with priority Sucker Punches, Kowtow Cleaves, and Heat Crashes. So I think that this duo is extremely good, and it's also a sort of balanced team, right? You can very easily slap a Rillaboom here, an Ogre Pawn, maybe not this one, but the Ogre Pawn Wellspring, for example, and just go at it, right? It's now you have the skeleton of a really nice, really strong balance team. So good Pokemon against this team, I would say that are, for example, I really like Magmar. I think Magmar could be quite good. It has Flame Body, right? So it's extremely strong, and it learns the Burning Jealousy. Burning Jealousy is also really cool because it nullifies the Kingambit's setup. if you attack after the Howl boost. So it's pretty good in my opinion. I also think that, for example, Urshifu Rapid Strike could be quite good to beat this strategy. You pressure the Gouging Fire. Yes, it is neutral damage, but you circumvent Burning Bulwark as well. So you can actually just pressure either the Kingambit or the Gouging Fire. So Urshifu, I think it's pretty good against this team. Landorus is again one of the strongest ones against this duo. The Kingambit usually is a dark classes, meaning that it does not have a lot of special defense bulk, right? So Earth Power is going to be doing a lot of damage against this Pokemon in particular, and against the Gouging Fire. Once again, if the Gouging Fire goes for the Fairy Terra, you can just sludge bomb it, so you are doing super effective damage against the Gouging Fire either way. So yeah, I think that Landorus, Urshifu, really strong. You could even just use Landorus, Tornadus, and the Urshifu, and I think that these three could just deal with these two quite well, in my opinion. So on to the next one. The next one is a typical Trick Room team. You have the Ursaluna here with the Flame Orb and Guts. We have the Cresselia with Lunar Blessing and Trick Room, and of course the mighty Iron Hands. So this team is quite simple. It is a typical Trick Room team. You probably have the Mental Herb onto the Cresselia, and this is just so that you can use Trick Room. You have a minus speed, probably a Brave Ursaluna, right? Let's take this IVs here, and with this you can just click moves and KO everything. Cresselia has Levitate, it is a Trick Room setter, and it can heal you with Lunar Blessing. It is also extremely strong, defensively strong. Like, look at this, 120 HP, 110 defense and 120 special defense. I mean, you can do a lot with Cresselia. And you pair Cresselia with the Ursaluna, and I mean, you just put a lot of pressure onto your opponent. You can just keep pressing Earthquake and KO everything around you. Iron Hands is also here because it is one of those Pokemon that is also extremely slow, right? It has a 49 base speed, just like Ursaluna, and the fake out pressure that it gives is phenomenal. You can even put the Volt Switch onto it, and you can just fake out. You can just fake out Trick Room, and then in the next turn, you could just, for example, Lunar Blessing and Volt Switch onto the Ursaluna, and so in this way the Ursaluna is going to return to the field with a lot of HP still, right? And you just get your Guts online, and you just press Facade Earthquake and try to KO everything. I think that this team is pretty cool and pretty good because it also counters Raging Bolt. I mean, it is the Pokemon to beat in my opinion. To counter this team, you of course have the typical Among Us with Regenerator and Spore. Usually the Cresselias have a safety goggles so that it is immune to the Among Us stuff, right? But it is still a pretty good option against it. Incineroar is also pretty strong. Urshifu, the Dark type Urshifu, I think it's extremely effective against the Ursaluna, and I quite like the Sinistcha as well. And this is because with Shadow Ball you can just pressure the Ursaluna, and you can just press with Shadow Ball you can just pressure the Cresselia, right? But then you are completely immune to the Ursaluna, Earthquake and Headlong Rush are not going to be doing a lot of damage to you because you are a grass type. The Ursaluna cannot facade you because you are a ghost type, right? And you also kind of counter the Iron Hands, because Iron Hands usually has Drain Punch here and Wild Charge, and so not even Iron Hands is going to do a lot of damage to this Sinistcha. And then what can you do? You can just reverse the Trick Room. You can just deal consistent damage with your Gacha, right? And it has the chance to burn, so I mean you can just burn the Iron Hands, which would make him even more useless, right? So I think that Sinistcha is actually quite a good pick in this scenario. I am completely biased by doing this, but I think that Ogerpon could be quite good. Not as good as the ones that I've mentioned so far, but it is effective. Brute Bonnet is also a pretty cool one, as well as what's his name, the Wuqian. Wuqian could also be good here because you are actively reducing the Ursaluna's offensive pressure whilst not taking a lot of damage from it and resisting the Cresselia. So I think that you have an issue here, right? So yeah, I think that these Pokemon are quite good against them. A really cool thing that you can do with this team is just have the Flame Orb onto the Ursaluna, the Safety Goggles onto the Cresselia, and have a Grass Terra type Iron Hands, and then you have, for example, like the Ogerpon, or a Rillaboom, or even your own Among Us, and suddenly you have 4 spot immunities. So I mean, you could do that, and it would be just, really annoying for your opponents, in my opinion. Then we have a special mention here, and that is the Choice Specs Articuno that fascinated a lot of people by winning the Utrecht regional event. I think that this team will not be as used in this year, right? But I think it is a pretty funny team with the Snow Warning Blizzard Articuno just melting teams away. But it's also easily counterable, right? If you have weather control on your side, you can just do a lot of damage to this team, because now Blizzard, your most consistent damage move, is not online, right? Or at least is not that accurate. You are also reducing the evasiveness of the Articuno, so it's pretty cool. I've actually seen a Terra Ice Raging Bolt to take advantage of the Snow Warning, but yeah, I think that this team deserves the mention because it's really cool. It's a sort of balanced team still, right? You have the Ogerpon for redirection and support, you have the Alolan Ninetales for the Aurora Veil and damage multiplication, you have the Arcanine that does a lot of damage with the Choice Band, but it also has Intimidate, so it works as a, I wouldn't say better Arcanine, but an offense. I wouldn't say that it is a better Incineroar, but it is a more offensive version of an Incineroar. That is just my opinion. And then you have the Landorus and the Assault Vest Raging Bolt, which are extremely useful. Substitute onto the Landorus is quite good, so yeah, maybe you could consider it. And the Assault Vest on the Raging Bolt with these stats, absolutely phenomenal. And you have Snarl to diminish your opponent's damage, so you have speed control as well. Raging Bolt is just such a phenomenal Pokemon, right? You can do whatever you want with it. It's fantastic, and I wanted to mention this team in particular. To end this one, we have an OG, and that is a beat-up Terrakion team. So Terrakion is just such a cool Pokemon, right? It is quite bulky. I mean, you have 90 points in HP, defense, and special defense, whilst being quite strong and a bit fast. And why is this strategy so good? Well, you have Whimsicott that learns beat up, and you can just beat up your justified Terrakion, and Terrakion is going to get a attack boost every time it is hit with a dark type move, which beat up is. So you can have, like, in the first turn, if your opponent, for example, does not have a fake out user, or it could even have a fake out user, you could even just be like a ghost Terra type here and have the covered cloak here, and in the first turn you can just Terra Ghost, beat up, and rock slide, and you are going to do so much damage. It is a predictable strategy because it is so well known, but it is a really cool one. If you don't want to use Whimsicott, you could also use the Mousehold. Mousehold here has the added bonus of having Friend Guard, making your Terrakion more bulky, but it also has Follow Me, so you can protect your Terrakion. So, I mean, between Whimsicott and Mousehold, it really depends on your preference, right? But like I was saying, this strategy is actually quite easy to beat. If your opponent is using a Whimsicott, it's a little bit trickier, but not that bad. Basically, to counter it, you just don't want the beat-ups to go through, right? You don't want to boost the Terrakion. So what do? Use a Follow Me user. Why Follow Me and not Rage Powder, for example? Because Whimsicott is immune to it, and the Mousehold could have the safety goggles, and now it is also immune to it, guaranteeing the beat-up boosts onto the Terrakion. So a Follow Me user here is extremely good, and once again, Ogerpon, in my opinion, is the best one to deal with this kind of team. Because you have Follow Me, you resist the Rock Slide, right? And you can just basically control your opponent's offense, which is really good. Another really cool thing with Ogerpon is that you can actually just be straight up faster than the Terrakion. By 2 points, right, or 1 point, you are just faster than Terrakion. And so, even if the Whimsicott goes for the beat up, you could just, if you want to go play on the offense, you could just Ivy Cudgel the Terrakion and KO it. So, I mean, you have multiple ways to counter this strategy, but it is a strategy that I thought that could be quite good, and it is quite funny. It is quite funny. But yeah, so these were the teams, in my opinion, to beat. I think that these duos, archetypes, or entire teams are quite good and will be quite common. But before going, I just realized that I actually skipped one of them. Sorry, this is this is the most important one. So you have Chiyu and Fluttermane. This is just basically a 2-2-2 team. A 2-2-2 team is a team that is composed by specific duos, right? Because you have 6 Pokemon, you have 1 duo, 2 duos, and 3 duos, and therefore 2-2-2. So this team is extremely offensive, and it is extremely easy to use, in my opinion. Why? Well, first of all, you have Choice Scarf Chiyu. Chiyu pressures a lot of Pokemon with spread damage Heat Wave, right? It is faster than a bunch of Pokemon with Choice Scarf. Who pairs really well with Chi-Yu? Exactly, Fluttermane. Choice Specs Fluttermane is extremely fast with 135 speed. I even think that is like the fastest Pokemon in the format, is it not? Let me just check. Okay. It's one of the fastest Pokemon in the format. I completely forgot about Iron Bundle and the others. Okay, it is one of the fastest Pokemon in the entire regulation, and you can just Dazzling Gleam, Heat Wave, and if your opponent does not have, for example, an Incineroar or an extremely strong Pokemon, or a Pokemon that can resist both fire type damage and fairy type damage, I mean, you are in a really bad position, because this duo, if your opponent leads with this, it can just control the whole game. I'm just telling you, if you don't have an answer for this duo, I mean, it's just not a good time. Then you have another duo. This is the Choice Band Dragonite with Chiempao. A really common duo that I've spoken about earlier. You are boosting your offensive pressure, the offensive pressure of Dragonite with the Sword of Ruin ability, and you have the Choice Band Terra Normal Extreme Speed to just, with a priority move, KO everything. This is just a strategy that, I mean, there is not much to do. And then you have Dondozo Tatsugiri. Usually the Dondozo is a leftover set, and Tatsugiri could actually just be a Choice Scarf set, but I think that Choice Scarf is just way better on the Chi-Yu. And you have the ability Shield to just counter Weezings, because Regigigas and Weezing is just going to be extremely common in this reg. So yeah, and this is the other duo. I mean, you can just, for example, lead with these two, right, and have these two in the back. If these two go down, I trust me when I say that they will go down only after making a significant damage onto your opponent's strategy. And if they go down, then you just bring Dondozo Tatsugiri to just steal the game. There is not much your opponent can do at this point. So this is actually just one of the absolute strongest teams in this format, and a team that you have to prepare to. But yeah, these are the teams that I wanted to talk to you guys about. And they are all extremely strong. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video so far, do leave a like and a comment, maybe even subscribe, why not? And if you guys want to see me just feature any of these teams in the ranked ladder, do drop a comment saying that, because it would be extremely helpful to use this team, so you guys could also see how they work and where they falter, right? So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.